Today, I wanted to be talking about Bulgaria's waste management system compared to other EU countries' system. But a little bit about me is I'm from central Massachusetts, but I've lived in Europe and for about 6 years and some time in Asia as well. My state, Massachusetts, is known for education, seafood, sports, Cape Cod. I know a lot of people in Europe go there for work and travel in the summer, and we're also known for autumn, the fall season. In terms of the United States, as an entire country, Massachusetts is ranked in the top 10 best states for living. This is based on healthcare, how clean it is, safety, education. So, in terms of sustainability, based on a report from 2024, Massachusetts is the most sustainable, environmental friendly state. It was based on solar panels, solar jobs, how many households use solar energy, and so on. Recycling, water consumption, and the least sustainable is North Dakota. The photo to the right just has the top 10. You can see here. Okay. Moreover, I wanted to talk about why waste management matters and why Bulgaria has a serious problem with how they manage theirs. So, generally speaking, waste management is important because it limits waste. That way, you don't have to reproduce, and that would form more greenhouse gases and be worse for the climate. It improves recycling, and it helps dispose waste in a correct way, like by environmental friendly way. It means not going into a landfill or the sea and so on, because if that happens, then it's really bad for the environment and they have to make more. I can't put my camera on because my Wi-Fi is very bad and I think that the presentation will crash. So basically, what I mentioned about Bulgaria's stance is that they tried to officially report that they had about 50, a little over 50% of plastic waste that was recycled in 2019. That's what the national figure was, but data from municipality didn't show this. So they were reporting 10% and sometimes even less. So it was obvious that the national government was somewhat messing with these figures. And to the right here, there's a picture of the trash that wasn't properly recycled, despite it being declared that it was. Um, so if you start here from the right, the issue is the data is not accurate, so you can't rely on it. And then there's confusion because you don't know which figures are reliable or not. And the question I'm asking is Bulgaria's waste management system as eco-friendly as other countries, specifically in the European Union? So in 2022, the Bulgarian National Statistical Institute and Producer Responsibility Organizations both published very different data. So this is just one of the examples is that NSI showed 148,367 tons of plastic packaging waste, whereas PRO reported 105,359 tons of plastic packaging, and that's pretty big difference there, like about a third difference. So I want to talk about EEA policy framework, which is basically about how waste management ties into a circular economy, which is one of the goals of both the EU and the United Nations is to be able to maintain and sustain a circular economy. So EEA stands for the European Environmental Agency, which created the strategy and action plan for the transition to a circular economy for the period 2022 to 2027. One main goal is about waste management. So here I have like a small chart which is about like you can still have a competitive economy while also being environmentally friendly. which the main goal is to reduce waste and increase resources, which is beneficial to consumers. So, recycling, not making things brand new if they can be recycled, not putting things in landfills, which is very big because if Bulgaria is saying, oh, we're recycling 50%, but at the local level, they're only recording 10% or less, then that they're not, like, it can't be possible. So it's not really reducing waste, it's increasing it as they produce uh, more materials that don't necessarily need to be produced. So a deposit system is one of the main arguments that can reduce waste and increase recycling. So basically, a deposit system is where, like, if you have a bottle or a can or something that can be recycled and is accepted in the given country, you can like there's like machines, you put the can in and you get some kind of return back. So when you buy, like, let's say a bottle of Coca-Cola, there might be a logo on the back of it, and if you return it, maybe you get 25 cents, but you pay the 25 cents when you buy the bottle. So there's like an incentive to recycle it to get the money back. And um, research has shown that it's limited litter and it encourages recycling, whereas that would mean it would restrict greenhouse gas if recycling goes up because there's no need to make something if they can recycle it. So it cuts down the need to create new plastic. And if you create this new plastic, more greenhouse gases go into the atmosphere than just using the recycled plastics. There's also an economic advantage because, as I said, there's more of an incentive to recycle returned. You get the returned funds, and this can help with the circular economy. So also with education, because it raises awareness about the situation. So if you're taking all your bottles or your cans each week, each month, you'll start to, I think, be more aware of the importance of recycling, because I think after some time it will become more of a habit. Even though there is like the economic incentive, it's not necessarily so much money that would be like a deal breaker for your everyday life, but it will still create the routine of recycling plastic. It's mainly plastic, sometimes glass. So in practice, Germany has a very well-known deposit system called Pfand, and it's one of the most efficient ones in Europe. So as I said, when consumers purchase an item such as bottles or cans, they pay a small fee, but it's returned back to them when they return the can, and they return it to machines. Therefore, it's recycled. So the goal of this system was to increase recycling, encourage a circular economy, and limit littering. And the refund can be anywhere between 8 to 25 cents. Most of the time that I've seen the return machines have been outside grocery stores, and it improves recycling. Because currently I'm in Austria, and at all the grocery stores that I go to, they do have these machines, and I always recycle the bottles that I get and just buy some more.
Just one
So,
small comment.
yep.
The deposit system is for all the bottles. So plastic bottles, metal cans, and glass bottles, but there are different deposit systems. So in Bulgaria, at the moment, we have the deposit system for glass bottles that is working in some shops. And in general, in countries that are having a deposit system, it is for plastic bottles mainly and for metal cans. Just this small note.
Okay. So the effects of the fan system in Germany is that they saw a 70% decrease in the use of raw materials, 70% decrease in bottle and can litter, and between 20 to 30% of the energy was saved, and there was a less plastic usage. And also the benefits was eco-friendly raw materials, recycled plastics, and this limits the use of having to create of using raw materials and restrict CO2 emissions. Like as you can see here, you can put the glass bottle. I guess it depends where, because where I am, like not every single bottle can go, even if it's plastic. So it depends on the country and on the machines you're near. But they're typically I've seen them in shopping centers, outside of any grocery store. Usually, I mean, I'm in Vienna, but I think even outside of it, it's a very big part of Austria's strategy. So also moving on just from the deposit system is I wanted to talk about how Sweden deals with their waste management and recycling. So in terms of the EU states, Sweden is one of the leading countries for recycling in their waste system. So they want to achieve zero waste, which means, everything would be recycled. And from 2020 to 2025, they expect food waste to decrease per person by 25%, which is very big. And I mean, I guess by next year, we'll see if they meet their goal. Their main focus is on achieving a circular economy, minimizing waste, and making recycling programs more accessible. Because, as I said, with the deposit system, maybe some stores have it, but if it's not as widespread, it won't be as beneficial as if it was as widespread, because maybe people in more smaller towns don't have the access to it. And that way, maybe just in capital cities, but if it's more widespread, I think it will increase a lot more. So the strategy of Sweden is really focused on composition, recycling, and trash for energy. So food and garden waste is used as compost instead of being put into landfills. So compost is beneficial to crops. It's like a fertilizer, and it helps with the soil. So you can use this with eggshells, certain vegetables, like the nutrients will seep into the soil for some things, not everything. Trash for energy, which uses they use 99% of their trash through recycling or burning it to create domestic energy. So they're not just burning it to get rid of it, it's going towards creating more energy. And lastly is recycling. So at home or at deposit points, the materials have to be separated, which through my time in the EU, this is pretty standard. Like in Italy, I've had to recycle the materials. In Austria, even when I was living in Japan, you have to separate the materials. But I've been in Bulgaria like 4.5 years, and it wasn't strict while I was there. You could just throw everything in one bag, and there's no way to check it really. Whereas in Italy, if you do that, you can get fined up to €1,000, and it's the same. So while they have all these goals and the changes that are occurring, people's lifestyles will change. So in 2017, the Swedish government created a tax system. Well, they updated their tax system, and it included less expensive repairs on personal belongings. This goal was to just restrict buying new if possible. And in 2020, Stockholm H&M's introduced a donation program. So this was about used clothes. So if anyone had clothes that they needed to get rid of, instead of just throwing it in the trash, H&M would clean and shred the used or damaged materials to create new clothes. So this also ties into a circular economy. So the government has been trying to kind of incorporate this into their national legislation. So separate groups are focusing on achieving this while working with the official Swedish government. And consumer engagement is probably one of the biggest keys in Sweden's system to make sure that this works. So as long as residents are encouraged to be environmentally conscious, this can really help with their purchasing decisions. Um, like this photo here is just some of the bins in Sweden, and they're very organized with photos on what to recycle and what not to, because sometimes in countries, other EU countries, I've noticed is there's either no photo or it's only written in that country's language. So somebody that doesn't speak it may get confused and put it in the wrong bin. But also, Sweden is a very expensive country. So if it is cheaper just to go and get a repair on a personal belonging than to buy new, I think the majority of people would rather just get it repaired. So while Sweden and Germany, you can say are very different than Bulgaria, and you can't necessarily compare them, which is kind of fair to say, I wanted to talk about another Balkan country, Slovenia. So Ljubljana was the first EU capital to become a zero waste capital city. And by 2040, they want to completely reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 36%, which is huge. And they have a lot of laws about the environment. For example, the law on environmental protection, which is about sustainability, reducing pollution, and incorporating a circular economy. And the law on nature conservation, which is about biodiversity and how to protect that. Slovenia has one of the biggest percentages of biodiversity in the entire world, despite it being such a small country. So this is very important to them and their tourism. So household recycling rate is about 43%, and there's a lot of investments in green energy. So their approach is about zero waste, green transportation, and sustainable tourism and biodiversity. So 9 municipalities followed the zero waste initiative, saved over 3 million euro, and it's prevented 15 tons of mixed waste. And a ton is 2,000 pounds, so it's a lot. And green transportation is about park and ride systems, which allows people to just ride a bike or take the bus while visiting Slovenia. Slovenia is also known a lot for their tourism and hiking, camping, sightseeing in Ljubljana, but mainly for their nature. So this is very good because instead of renting a car, someone might opt for, taking a bus focused on tourism or renting a bike. So this ties into my next point, which is that it's ranked in the top 10 for sustainable tourism worldwide. And since they're known for their biodiversity, and as I said, they are ranked #1 in the world for the high concentration of plants and animals per square kilometer. So in terms of Bulgaria, they don't have a good track record for recycling rates and public participation. So their landfills are a lot more full than other countries that I've mentioned. But if you compare other EU country solutions, this can inspire policymakers in Bulgaria and also EU pressure. So maybe the national government didn't report the correct statistics despite the municipality as a way to appeal to the EU. But Bulgaria needs a widespread deposit return system like the one in Germany, where you would have this for every supermarket and so on. And this would help with the littering issue and encourage public participation because of the return value.
Just one note here. At the moment, we are having some kind of deposit system from around 1 year, but it's not initiative on national level. The initiative came from the German supermarkets like Lidl and Kaufland. And because it's not on a national level, the value of one bottle, it is just 5 cents, not 5 euro cents, 5 Bulgarian stotinki, which is 2.5 euro cents, which is not enough to incentivize people to recycle. Also, it is not widespread. You can see it only in a couple of shops in quite big cities. And something maybe that attracts people is that these deposit systems, they are connected with some campaigns related to funding hospitals to renew
the bottle caps, right?
Yes, yes. This campaign like Аз вярвам и помагам, I believe and I help, and caps for future, капачки за бъдеще. So they got in touch, these two organizations they got in touch with the with Kaufland and with Lidl, and there's also this option that you make a donation. But of course, there is quite there is need for improvement.
Yeah, and I think if it's only with the German grocery stores or for smaller campaigns, I think it needs to be introduced almost just like at a national level so it is widespread because I know different municipalities are very different. I know it's also harder in the Balkans in general because there are bigger supermarkets, but there are also like locally owned shops in more like rural areas, which would be kind of harder to implement there because maybe the machines cost too much money or need some kind of like direct funding from the government to put those and also to maintain. Because if it's in a bigger city, I think that there should be someone probably like has a set schedule to empty the machine and all that. Whereas if it's in more of a rural area, it will be harder to do that. And also, if there's not so many people in a smaller town or a village, how often would it really need to be emptied? So I think that's one of the bigger differences. Like if you compare Bulgaria versus Germany or even Sweden, is Bulgaria is a smaller country. Their population is spread over the country in more of a dispersed way, whereas a lot of the population are in cities like Sofia, Plovdiv, Burgas, Varna, but not in like Melnik, Sliven, and so on. However, there is, as you mentioned, some campaigns. We work with this one's Zemyama, which is an
The
organization.
Zenyatta, Friends of
Yeah,
the Earth.
that
Mhm.
one, yeah. And so it's an organization that advocates for Bulgaria to officially adopt the deposit return system. Like we did an event for cleaning at the Sea Garden, and we picked up like I think like 8 or 9 bags of trash, mainly plastic bottles and cans. And they provided us with the trash bags, the gloves, and a poster that said that Bulgaria needs this. They also have campaigns outside of that about food and agriculture, zero waste, air quality, economic justice, and energy and climate. And I think they're based in Sofia. They provided resources to other organizations who are also in pursuit of the similar goals. That's really helpful, especially for smaller organizations outside of Sofia or Plovdiv. And so they collaborate with other organizations and they engage with governments and NGOs on these kinds of initiatives.
Just one small note here.
Yes.
Friends of the Earth is international organization, and the Zemyata, it's basically Friends of the Earth Bulgaria. It's just named differently. So they're operating on a global level, but the Zemyata, uh, it is part of the global network, but it's operating on national level.
Ah, okay. That's good. I wanted to talk about some of the ideas and implementation of these ideas. So countries that have adopted a return system did see a huge increase in recycling rates. Improves the incentive to recycle, and it's environmentally friendly and reduces the need to create new materials, specifically bottles and plastic. In terms of separation, this is also a big factor of recycling. It is recycling. Um, and in Bulgaria, a lot of municipalities collect mixed waste, which reduces recycling, and this just stuffs landfills. And I think for Bulgaria, there needs to be a mandated waste separation program, like in Sweden, in Germany. Even when I study in Italy, I have to have it all separated. I think I have like 5 different bins. And the majority of waste in Bulgaria does end up in landfills, and recycled and biodegradable waste shouldn't go into these landfills, but if it's mixed, most of the time it does. And overfilled and unregulated landfills can harm the soil and water, which produces more greenhouse gases. So the chart at the bottom here, it's I think the deposit return system will lead to more waste separation, which would not overfill landfills whereas Bulgaria has that issue. And currently, what's being done is in Sofia, there are waste management programs that have reduced landfill waste and increased recycling. Municipalities that have introduced waste separation education have seen an increase in sustainable participation. Additionally, more in the political aspect is that the Ministry of Environment and Water in Bulgaria are in the early stages of adapting the deposit return system. Plastic, metal, and glass packaging, typically for beverages from 0.1 to 3 liters, would be eligible. And based on the ministry is basing this off of cost effectiveness and how environmentally friendly that it would be. But as we discussed, there's a difference between implementing it in larger cities in Bulgaria versus smaller towns or villages with not so many people or more locally owned shops. So here is the National Climate Action Plans that I want to discuss, NCAP. So the EU basically sets these plans for their member states. So based on the EU, Bulgaria plans to make significant sustainable progress by 2030. Local municipalities need to coordinate with national plans to achieve their goals. Plans rely on the EU and international organizations. So some of the examples that I had here for Bulgaria was the Climate Change Mitigation Act, which you need to incorporate EU obligations into a country's national legislation. The Energy Transition Commission, which oversees Bulgaria's energy and water sector, and coal phase out. So reduce coal usage and replace it with more sustainable energy. I know in the EU, Bulgaria and I think Poland and Hungary still use a lot of coal, whereas some of the other countries that I've mentioned have basically phased that out. And this is the progress that I want to discuss. So, because it isn't that Bulgaria just is having issues because they don't do anything, there has been significant progress, especially after joining the European Union in 2007. So, prior to Bulgaria joining the EU, data from 2005 showed that Bulgaria released 63 million tons of CO2 equivalent. However, by 2023, this figure decreased by a little over 27%, and Bulgaria did reach their former 2020 goal. So Bulgaria has already progressed a little over 20% of their renewable energy goal, and they are on track to achieve 27% of it by 2030. So the key takeaways that I want to discuss is that the deposit return system discussions are occurring on more of a higher level in Sofia with the ministry. However, Bulgaria still does need to work with the EU and especially towards the sustainability development goals from the UN. And coal usage needs to be phased out when possible. So my focus areas for this presentation were on waste management and reducing landfill waste. And just some things that worked in other countries, specifically in Europe, because I think it's easier to compare EU countries as they have to incorporate the EU rules into the national legislation. However, you can't completely compare Bulgaria really to other countries, specifically in Western Europe, the same way. That's why I incorporated Slovenia as well. And my conclusion and the next steps is that Bulgaria still has made slight progress in sustainable practices and regulations outlined by the EU and the UN's sustainability development goals, but Bulgaria's reported data isn't always reliable, which is proven at the municipality level. So Bulgaria needs to enforce a waste management system to improve recycling rates and reduce landfill waste. So whether this is the deposit return systems in every Bulgarian municipality that is pretty widely reachable, or mandating waste separation instead of just putting all your trash in one bag and finding one of the dumpsters and dumping it all. It needs to be mandated not to do that, whether it's by some kind of fine or anything like that. And they should be inspired by other EU countries' sustainable practices, such as Sweden and Slovenia with their zero waste initiative. Bulgaria should try to strive for something similar. I do know that probably many Bulgarians might be opposed to waste separation, and however, in the long run, I think that is what really can be kind of one of the easiest things to achieve, as it will really help landfill waste and the biodegradable material won't be stuffed into landfills and recycled material. There will be no need to create new plastics. And also, when you start, I think, separating your waste, it just becomes a routine after just a little bit where it's not such an annoyance. I do know in even in some parts of Varna near the sea, they do have the trash bins that have, plastic, glass, mixed labeled, but how many people actually separate it versus just throwing whatever in there. And a deposit return system, separated waste, and a zero waste initiative is what I think that Bulgaria should try to make one of their main goals, as as an EU member state, they don't really have a choice. And also, if they want to follow the UN Sustainable Development Goals, to do this, they're going to need to do that because over time, it's not going to be able to be sustained. And over time, I think it will get worse. Having a full landfill of trash isn't good for anything, and recycled materials will help not have to just remake everything and emit more greenhouse gases than necessary. So thank you very much
Just
for your
one,
attention. Yep.
just one comment, like if you can return on the previous slide. About the Bulgarians who don't want to separate their trash. Um, First, there is no incentives about that. There are no the system is broken.
Yeah.
So I will mention one law. Each citizen, like if you own an apartment, you need to pay tax garbage, but it's not, it is equal for everyone. So, non-governmental organizations, environmental ones, are trying to fight for mm, measuring this garbage, for a system for measuring this garbage. There are systems like that in other countries like the Netherlands. I have seen it maybe in the Netherlands, which means that if you have less waste, you will pay less taxes
Yeah.
for your for garbage collection. This is an incentive that environmental non-governmental organizations are trying to fight for in Bulgaria. Another thing, why people don't believe so much the companies that are collecting the waste separately, because they are putting it in the same truck. When they're collecting the garbage, they're taking it in the same truck, and there is a lot of misinformation there because yes, the companies are taking it in the same truck, but after that the metal, it is um, uh, they have facilities with magnets where the metals are first extracted, the plastic and um, the glass, because it's heavier, it is falling down, and then there is like the plastic and the paper that is left in between, uh, up actually, because it is less heavy, and in some facilities there are lasers who are which are helping with putting away bottles, like plastic bottles. But because we are not so technologically savvy in that field, There are, let's say, only four bot plastic bottles that are with no color, or maybe with blue bottles as well. So there are definitely things that needs to be fixed. Also, the big part of the garbage, like they're handpicked. So employees are just handpicking trash, like which is good for separation and which is not. And in some other countries, these processes are much more like they're using much more technology for these processes.
Yes, like
Uh,
in Italy,
mhm,
they would pick up the trash each day differently based on like in the uh, I lived in like Lombardy in that region. I don't know about other regions. It'd be like, okay, Monday, food waste, Tuesday, glass. Because also with Bulgaria, what I've noticed is it's not like you just like leave your trash outside the night before and they pick it up. It's like you just find like the trash bin closest to your apartment. Whereas like in Italy, you have a bin, you leave it right outside at 6 a.m., it's picked up. So I think it's also just more difficult to do that kind of system in like smaller villages.
mhm,
So, but I think that with the tax that you mentioned, if there was an incentive, like maybe you pay if everything is recycled, if you pay even like 25 less or half less, there'd be a lot bigger. And also it would save I mean Bulgaria more money if they don't have to keep remaking the plastic. I mean depending if they make it in Bulgaria or not. But
mhm. In it really depends. Yeah, it really depends on the country. In Netherlands, there are actually it is a mix of systems depending on where you live. In some residential areas, there are the bins for separate waste collection, and you can open it just with a card. And only the residents of this building, let's say, have a card to open the container. In Germany, they also have that with cards, with keys. So the containers are locked in a space like behind bars. And if there is like someone made a mistake, it's the whole building that is paying the fine. What there is also in Netherlands, yes, of course, like different days, different garbage. This is also in Slovakia, but in Slovakia there are bags that you need to buy from the municipality, and your garbage will be taken only if you have these specific bags. And basically, this is more or less the a way of this the system that Bulgaria is trying to like non-governmental environmental organizations are trying to um, apply here, because you pay per bag, and like if you have less waste, then you pay less
mm,
for for your garbage. Um, in UK, uh, well, I can actually only talk about London. They're doing that for businesses. And the businesses are leaving I don't know about residential waste. But for businesses, they have specific bags, and the businesses need to put in these specific bags, or your garbage will not be taken.
yeah.
So, yeah, these are a bit more examples from other countries. And yeah, I also wanted to mention about some municipalities in Bulgaria, like some good examples. in Burgas are they're having system for composting the for biodegradable waste. I think it is mainly um, the biodegradable waste they are collecting from the parks, like the branches, the grass, etc.
Yes.
So they are just they are collecting this waste in a facility where they're creating compost, and the the compost, they're organizing events for their citizens, and whoever pays their taxes on time or before the deadline, they're gifting like 5 kilogram of bag of compost. Like they're trying to make it, um, they're trying to connect it with another governmental service, like yes, like you understood me.
Yes, yes.
And to make it more interesting to citizens. Um, there are also a few initiatives, let's say in Varna and in Sofia, the municipalities had initiatives to give composters to people who are having their own land. But it is, I wouldn't say that this initiative can have big enough impact. And what about the people who are living in apartments? Like most of the people,
Yeah.
the bigger percentage of the citizens are living in apartments. And what about them? So there are a lot of holes, let's say, because a lot of times mm, the changes are happening on municipal level, or sometimes even like uh, neighborhood municipal level. You can uh, like I have experience in Varna, you can talk with neighborhood municipality and they don't agree that you put the compost in their area, but with another neighborhood municipality, you can. So here, like things are very fragmented, and there is like a big need of a national policy, giving more directions. And also something else, like interesting fact that I remembered while you were talking about Slovenia, and when you mentioned about their green, um,
Tourism.
eco-friendly course, yes. In Ljubljana, I don't know if you know, but there is Cavalier. Like this is a small electrical bus that is operating in the center of Ljubljana, and you can call for free, and they can drive you to a place around the central area of the city where you want, and it's for free. And it is um, uh, promoting um, green mobility as well. It is quite interesting. Like if you're visiting, I recommend you to try.
Yeah, I was there once and it when I went it was very beautiful and lake bled and everything. And I was only there like 2 days, but it was really nice. And I also wanted to mention there like in terms of food waste, I think that it is also in Sofia, but there's this app called Too Good to Go. And I know that it's like in some cities in the United States, because I heard of it there, but I never used it because I don't live in like a big enough city. But in Vienna, I use it. And basically, like it's this app where restaurants or bakeries like 1 hour before they close. If there's food that they're gonna have to throw it away, you can buy the bag. Like it's a mystery bag. It will be like 4 or 5 euro, and you can pick it up. I read that Sofia does have it, but like in Vienna, where I am now, a lot of businesses use that. Like it's on a lot of businesses' doors. I've used it a few times, which really helps with like zero food waste initiative, like the one in Sweden that I mentioned, which is good. But also at the same time, I think it's something that couldn't really be put into like um a smaller village or anything, but I think in decent sized cities or university cities, it would be they'd probably sell a lot of it because I mean students don't have so much money and you can buy like from a bakery like 10 loaves of bread for 4 euro or something. So
Mhm. So just to specify, in Bulgaria, we don't have Too Good To Go for like at the moment, but we have another app. It is called Foodo Box, and like there is a website as well. And uh, I hope I'm not misleading here, but last when I checked, it was working only in Sofia,
yeah.
only in Sofia city, and it was still growing. I haven't checked it in the recent years, but I totally understand it. I used Too Good To Go as well because I was living in other countries, and especially in bigger cities, there are like um, different
May
applications related to that field. Sorry, Najwa. I know that in France you have it. Yeah.
Yes, I was about to talk about France, of course, because so you mentioned Too Good To Go, and this app is very popular here. And as Madeline said, it's like very practical for students. So, well, in my city, but especially in Paris, it's even more used. Students usually use this app to, well, to get some food, and well, it also benefits to the zero waste system. So I think it's really useful.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
it's fun. But I do it all the time, except my boyfriend doesn't ever like anything we get, so he's like, "Oh, you're wasting your money," but you can get like a lot of bread, whatever, that's just gonna go in the trash anyways. I mean, I think it's also nice, like if there's like a big homeless population, because I mean, yeah, but at the same time, like when I worked at a bakery in the US, I was like a teenager and we were forced to throw the food away. We couldn't donate it, we couldn't do anything, and it would be full cakes. I wasn't even allowed to take it home. Um, because they didn't want us to, it would be frozen, and if we took it out of the freezer, it would have like 3 days on the shelf. So they didn't want us to take out more food than we needed, but we'd be throwing away, I mean, tons of food, and there'd be homeless people like in the same city on the street, but we weren't allowed to give it. So I think that the app's kind of good because I mean I don't know about each city's like if the food doesn't go, can it be donated or not? But I think it's still good. It helps the business and it also helps um individuals. So I think it ties into circular economy.
Yes, well, in Bulgaria, unfortunately, there are some laws that are contradictive,
Yeah.
um, and well, they're made because of safety reasons. Um, like there was an initiative before, I think in Russe, for donating food, like a refrigerator, and people were putting food for homeless people, so they go go there and take it. But I think there was a problem with the health institutions,
Yeah.
and I heard like I am checking some uh, social media shorts from the news, and I think not while ago there was a person who wanted to uh, make make meals for homeless people, and he was given a fine from the police, and he was like taken to the police station. So here, oof, it's like 50-50.
Yeah.
Like there are a lot of um milestones, unfortunately. Um, does anyone has questions, or do you have any comments? Maria, maybe you can say something about Portugal.
Yeah, so Portugal does have Too Good To Go, but I live in really small cities, so usually there's not as many options. In the village that I live right now, there's no option. In Bragança, which is my city where I study, there's a few, but usually you receive like bad products that you need to use right away, and sometimes you can't use all of it. So the Too Good To Go, it's still not quite right. So they are like the companies, the small stores are selling bad products.
Mm.
Regarding like waste management and everything, like in Portugal, one thing that I realized now that you are speaking, like there's people incentivizing giving cents back for the bottles and everything. In Portugal, we do it more of like in school, they teach us that we should do it because of the environment and everything. And we do it normally just because we want to help the environment. We don't receive anything back. But we do have the three recycling, like recycling bins. We have for plastic, glass, and paper. And we also have the clothes ones that we can put. The ones aren't very common. There's like one, there's two in the here in the village, let's say that. But and also they have a bit of problems, like the bins are full very times, like for a long time because the company that's getting them back, it's not doing like a good job because we are very isolated here. Like from the biggest cities is 30 minutes in like the worst streets that you can imagine because it's just like a lot of curves because it's following the river. Yeah, but I think like Portugal is really trying because there's a lot of incentives. Like in the school, there's for the batteries and like used microwaves that are no longer working. There is recycling for that, and the school receives some money back when they deliver the beans. So, for example, when the bean, it's by the weight. When the bin is full, the school receives a coupon. My mom works at the school, that's why I know. Last time they received 75 euros that they can go to Radio Popular, which is like a store where you buy technology, like you can buy computers, whatever you can buy from there, and then you can just like spend the money from the used technology to buy new one that the school is needing. Yeah, I think that's like overall what Portugal is doing and trying to make it better.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Vanessa, do you have a comment or question? If it's not comfortable for you to talk, you can write in the comments. Hmm. Okay, maybe no. Okay, so okay, you don't have questions.
Okay, thank you very much for everyone's attention and time. And I think we had a pretty good discussion at the end about some of the gray areas, wanting to do this, but then there's this law. If there's not an incentive, why would people do it? I mean, also, if everything's picked up in like the same trash, like trash van, then is it really recycled? So, yeah, I think I think one of the good things is compared to other Balkan countries or Eastern Europe, being in the EU, I think is a plus, for Bulgaria because they're kind of forced to think about these things to an extent, whereas other countries might not really feel like such a need or obligation. However, I think also if you base it off of like development, of course, like post-communist countries will take more time compared to like Western Europe. But I do think over time Bulgaria will kind of get better, especially while there's new generation. And I think with social media, with education, even in university, there's more majors about sustainability, circular economy, everything kind of you could really find in that field, whereas maybe 20 or 30 years ago it wasn't as talked about. So I do think over time it will get better. And I do think that this is kind of in light in Bulgaria discourse to an extent. So I think that it will get better. There's just some changes that need to be kind of determined, incentives by the government. Maybe like with the deposit system, more places other than like mainly bigger cities could help. But thank you very much. And after this, I'm gonna convert the recording and I'll send it and upload it. So, okay. Thank you, everyone.
Maybe the last slide.
Oh, yeah. So, um, this was just the thank you slide and the code to the Facebook page. And if you have any questions about the sources, I have everything here. I use kind of as many as I could find. So I can upload that if you had any questions about it. But thank you very much. And we will talk soon. All right. Let me.
Thank you, Madelyn.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good day, everyone.